Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Betting Booth alongside restaurant mogul and gambling expert Zak Baron Jared Sandler. Wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a really fun football weekend. We've already got college games underway right now, the Egg Bowl. Later on, we've got Texas and Texas A&M. Zak is a Texas alum. He's wearing his Texas hat. We're not going to break down the college games or anything here, but give me your thoughts on Texas A&M.
Yeah, I mean, we need Arch to get his only signature win of the year. All the talks about A&M not having a tough strength of schedule and having a cupcake schedule, but I'm a little bit biased here. I'm probably going to be betting the Horns, emotionally attached to the Horns. Mathematically, we need a lot of things to happen to get to the playoffs, an outright win and a bunch of stuff to happen. But Arch doesn't have that key win. We lost to Georgia. We lost every key game that he's been in, plus the loss at Florida. So I expect the Horns to come out strong here. I like the under in this game. I think it's going to be a little bit tighter early on in this game, moving the ball. But I think it's going to be tight coming down the stretch. I don't expect the Horns to just get blown out here. So a lot riding on it emotionally. I'll probably put a small bit on the Horns just to have a sweat. I don't have, with public coming in on A&M, and the line hasn't been budging. I like that for the Horns. I'm in all these betting groups or contests, and usually there'd be value on taking the Horns, but I have so many Longhorn buddies that are in these groups that they're a little bit homers, and so not as valuable, but I do have the Horns in all those contests plus 2.5. I don't think you'll see it get to 3, so I would take it at plus 2.5. Again, a little bit bias on my end, but I think there's a little bit of value in the Horns. I think it's going to be tight coming down the stretch. You're getting some points at home, so I'd take them.
And I'll get your back here, and we talk every week, and Texas plays most weeks, obviously, and you don't take Texas every single week. There are times you've been like, no, you gotta fade the Longhorns. So I know I'm asking you right now. This is the first time Texas has played a big game since this long history of the betting booth, and you're taking Texas while wearing a Texas hat. But I will get your back here. You are not a Longhorn homer when it comes to making plays. Now, I know we're not going to. I said we're not going to break down college football. We'll stop with this game, but I played the over in this one at 51.5. I've seen it jump up to 52, but you like the under, so we're on opposite sides of that. I just don't. I think Texas gives up big plays. A&M can create big plays. Good receivers on the outside, and obviously, I think we've seen that A&M certainly can do it offensively, but defensively, A&M is. I don't know if they've regressed or they just play some good teams, and I think Texas is able to score points. So I kind of like the over, but you're on the under in this one.
I think that's fair. I think Anthony Hill is a key piece for Texas. He's our best defensive player. He's questionable for the game. If he doesn't play, obviously that hurts the under in our ability. And you're right, the skill position is where the A&M has a huge edge on Texas on the outside compared to what we have at receiver and running back. But again, just the spot is really why I like the under, just because it's a huge spot for A&M. They have not played anybody really tough all year coming into Texas the day after Thanksgiving. I think early on we might see some tightness from both teams. That's just a gut read. And I think now that it's gone up to 52, I just think it's too much for this big of a rivalry game with these two teams with this much on the line for A&M. I don't think you're just going to see them come out fireworks in this game. Again, if Anthony Hill's out, I could be eating my words come game time. But I like the spot.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game either way. I'm really looking forward to watching it tonight. Texas still, I guess, technically has something to play for, obviously, in A&M. It's weird. I mean, they definitely have something to play for, but their college football position is probably pretty secure, but should be a fun one. Second year that this rivalry is resumed, first time back in Austin. All right, yesterday, Thanksgiving games, from start to finish, now with that third game, you don't have to worry about like awkward conversations after the Cowboys game ends. You can go and just bury yourself into a TV for a third game. So I went 2-1 against the spread. We didn't put out any plays on the show, obviously. 2-1 against the spread. I went 1-1 with the totals. I took the under in both the Cowboys game and then the Bengals Ravens game. That one hit. The Cowboys Chiefs game went over. So split those. And then yesterday, I guess I had a little edge over you, but that's because you embarrassed me in week 1 of the betting booth. You got the only win. I think you went 1-1-1, right? Do I have that right? And I went 2-1. So hopefully we'll put out a little better showing this week. But I guess let's get into the picks. And the reason we wanted to record earlier today is because there's a game that kicks off in less than 90 minutes. And I imagine one of us will take this game, the Eagles and the Bears. You have control of the board first, Zach, because you won last week. So your first pick for Week 13 is who?
Well, if you give me control of the board, you know who I have to take. And this is a team that I said last week it might be better if they lose this game to kind of wake up and get right. And that's Philly today over Chicago. Game starts at 2. So giving the listeners who are listening live a little gift for listening closer to game time. We've been on the right side of the Philly seesaw these last couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, we had Philly against Detroit. Last week, we ended up backing the Cowboys. We didn't give it out on the pod. I did say if I was going to bet it, I like Dallas, and then I texted you a little closer to game time that I like the value on Dallas. I couldn't pass it up. But this is a get-right spot for Philly. I've been saying that Chicago is overvalued. I had Pittsburgh last week +3, ended up pushing that. Again, Chicago had 2 turnovers in that game. If you watch the game, I don't think they dominated by any means. Chicago +16 in turnover margin for the year. They've just been lucky in every spot. Second worst strength of schedule. This is the toughest game on the schedule. If you look at Chicago's schedule and you look for a key win or a big win, there's really not one on the schedule. You would say probably Pittsburgh last week was the best win. So no key wins on their schedule. Some cool stats in this game. Philly coming off a division game, 10-0 against the spread, coming off a division game in their last 10. So usually a team's coming off a division game, a little clunky in the next game. Philly 10-0 in their last 10. And the best unit on the field is the Philly defense. Of all the units on the field, it's going to be the Philly defense. And Chicago's banged up front. So I think you're going to see, if they can't run the ball, it's going to be Caleb running for his life. And the public likes this Chicago team. They're still a public darling. Most of the bets coming in are on Chicago and the line's going towards the Eagles. So I'm going to play the number here, play the value. I think it's a great bounce back spot for the Eagles to get right.
And just to confirm, what are you seeing it at?
So I'm seeing it at 7 now. I got it early in the week at 6.5. I still like it at 7. I do not think you'll see it go back to 6.5 before game time. So I would take it at the 7. I've seen some books move to 7.5. If you see the 7, I would take it now.
Yeah, I got it at 6.5 earlier in the week as well, and I'll post some of my picks as I make them on Twitter at Jared Sandler. I still like it at 7 too. This would have been my first pick. I knew you were going to go this route. There's just listen. You can sometimes, if you're new to the gambling on sports thing, you hear 2 people speak very confidently about a pick, and we're going to give you our reasons why. It isn't just, because I like their jersey colors. That doesn't mean it's going to still always work out, right? There are a lot of signs pointing towards the Eagles covering. Things can happen. But, you mentioned the turnover margin. Well, last week notwithstanding, the Eagles also do a pretty good job. For as much as they've struggled and been inconsistent offensively, they do a pretty good job of not giving the ball away. And I don't know if it's just an overly conservative mindset, either by, the play calling or Jalen Hurts, knowing that this defense is, really good and not wanting to put them in a bad spot. But this Bears team, they've won 4 straight. They're not like we've talked about this before. They're just not good enough to be an 11, 12 win team. Like I can't believe in that. And now the Bears can cover and lose this game, right? As 7-point dogs. I agree. Shorter week. Caleb Williams, as much as I thought he was going to be a superstar, I've backed off that. I still think he could be good. I'd like to see him in year 2 of the Ben Johnson offense next year, but he makes too many bad throws in spots in which he's not pressured and a receiver is open. Too many throws that an NFL quarterback needs to make, and you just don't have that margin for error. And to whatever degree people like the point differential, the Bears are a -3, right? They're
Right.
8-3, but they're a -3. We've talked about this before. I don't think look ahead stuff can impacts the NFL as much as college. And this is a big game because if the Bears lose, then the Packers have control of the division. But those two teams play next week at Lambeau Field. And so I think if you see Philadelphia get out to a lead, I think you might see the Bears, I don't want to say call the dogs off a little bit, but I think if they're gonna play the numbers here, hey, we're down 14 with 10 minutes to go, they'll give it a shot, but I don't think they're gonna, go balls to the wall recklessly, knowing that they've got a big game against the Packers next week. So I do like that. I agree with this play. I'm gonna tail you on this. I think the Eagles could roll in this one. All right.
Yeah, I love the spot. And I love when the public reacts to a line. When you see a line, you see a touchdown favorite. Immediately, if you talk to a recreational bettor, they say 8-3 team against a 7-point dog. Why are they 7-point dogs? I'm getting so much value here with the Bears, but there's a reason they made this line like this. Like you said, the Eagles don't turn the ball over last week. Fluky turnovers against the Cowboys. I don't think we'll see that this week. Hurts has thrown 1 pick all year. So this team protects the ball. I think they get back to basics today. They give the ball to Saquon. The Bears haven't played a team that can run the ball. So love the spot. This is my best bet of the week.
We got some comments.
I love the comments. Let's go.
Yeah. So at Jamie Greer, I don't know if you know who that is. Fly Zach Fly. And Corey wants to know the USC alum's take on Caleb's progression. I do think that last year to me on Caleb was kind of a wash. I mean, they really had, like, Shane Waldron is an embarrassingly bad coordinator, and Matt Eberflus as a head coach he's not an offensive guy, so he wasn't going to help in that department either. They didn't protect Caleb. It was just a total mess, and it was kind of a lost year, I think, in some respects for Caleb. I think this year he has shown signs, right? I think he does deserve some credit for the 8-3, but when I watch him, there are just too many bad throws, too many, and I'm not talking about under pressure in adverse situations. I'm talking about happy feet in a clean pocket and sailing a ball or throwing a one hop 10 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. Like, there's just too much of that. And I don't think the Eagles are going to allow you to overcome that.
Hasn't been the reason they've won a lot of these games. They've been the cardiac Bears, and they've won a lot of these games. Ben Johnson masking a lot of his errors late in game decisions, and getting lucky in big spots. So we'll take the value here with the Eagles.
All right. I don't want to play a big number for my first game. But I also don't want to play a dog crap team. Where am I going to go with this first pick? Oh, I don't know if I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to have to do it. No, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go with a big number. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks at home against the Minnesota Vikings. They are laying a big number of 11.5 points. I don't know that we've got an official word on whether J.J. McCarthy is going to play or not. He was in concussion protocol. I think the Vikings signed Desmond Ridder, or there are rumors they're going to sign Desmond Ridder, which is a sign that J.J. McCarthy is not going to be cleared. Typically, quarterbacks don't get cleared, or players don't get cleared within a week with concussion protocol stuff. But I'll be honest with you, even if J.J. McCarthy does play, it doesn't really scare me off this. I did see that this was a very public side, I guess. Which I don't love, but this game's in Seattle. Max Brosmer is nobody. And I don't know if anyone has seen Max Brosmer in his limited action. He's not good. He is an undrafted quarterback. He is going to go to Seattle and keep this game close for a Vikings team that kind of has had its wheels fall off the last couple of weeks with a lot of JJ McCarthy sucks, chatter back and forth. The Vikings are now out of it. They're 4-7. They're not really in any type of playoff conversation. And the Seahawks have allowed a couple teams to backdoor them here recently. But I just don't see how Minnesota keeps this game close. There are a lot of things we can go down. But at the end of the day, this to me is a pretty simple. Minnesota's not a very good team. They're banged up defensively. And I just don't know how they keep things close. They got to score, I don't know, they got to get at least 17 points for me to feel good about them covering. And I don't know how this team gets to 17 points.
Man, you love this Seattle team. I had to talk you out of it last week. I talked you out of it against Tennessee, and they got backdoored last week. I might have to talk you out of it again. I haven't played this game. There's a lot of unknowns with the quarterback, so I'm in a wait and see mode. My pushback would be that Brosmer isn't a step down from JJ, and that the books have moved this line because it's Brosmer to a bigger number, and that I just don't think he's a big step down from what we've seen from JJ. I read a stat that if JJ downed the ball every play last week, you've seen that stat. Yeah, he got a better QBR if he just downed the ball every play last week. KOC's got to be kicking himself, letting Darnold walk out of the building. I mean, every day, just looking at what he's got with JJ. And what we saw from Brosmer in a short time earlier this year was not pretty, but he might manage the game a little bit better than JJ. When you're dealing with a plus 12 or, this big of a number, then you're going to be sweating. I mean, unless Seattle just blows the doors off, you are going to be up 17 late. Minnesota with the ball with a chance to backdoor. If Seattle's up, you rarely just get a big blowout. So with 90% of the bets coming on Seattle, right now it's a stay away from me. I'm going to look a little more into this game. It's not going to be in my big three picks, but my pushback would be it's just such a big number with an unknown at quarterback that might not be a step down from what we've seen. So,
no, I totally get that. And I am simply playing like I just don't know how Minnesota handles the Seattle defense. But you're right. Maybe they go into total keep away mode and they get a score on a trick play. That's how we basically got burned in that Lions-Vikings game or Lions-Giants game, 2 trick plays. I'm not saying that's what Minnesota's going to do, but they play keep away. That big number is tough to clear. But I'm gambling because I don't think you're going to take the pick that I was going to take first. But let's see. What's your second pick?
I feel like your other pick was going to be the Jets for some reason. And for now, I'm going to stay away. I know all the listeners think I'm going to go back to the well with Vegas. I'm staying away from Vegas. I'm not getting burned again. I think every loss so far that I've had on this thing has been Vegas. The only losses I have. So I've decided it's just no more Vegas for the rest of the year. I mean, I will be in Vegas the rest of the year, but we're not going to be betting on Vegas the rest of the year. And they're just one of those teams where I've zigged and zagged every wrong spot. I've had a great year gambling, but zigging and zagging every wrong spot in Vegas. So I've just decided it's almost like you're Tampa Bay. We're staying away from Vegas. So don't worry. I actually think there's value in Vegas this week, but that's not going to be my pick. I'm not going to do it. So, man, I'm going to go. I didn't know if you were going to go here, but I'm going to go with a contrarian pick that the public's not going to love, but Panthers plus 10 over the Rams. I don't think you're going to pick this one. And this is just a disrespectful line. I mean, 10 opened at 10.5. Now it's down to 10, meaning that, and this is a cross-country game for the Rams, going cross-country, playing at the Panthers. This means that on a neutral field, the line would be 13, maybe. In LA, 14.5. The Rams are the class of the NFL. We talk about how the Bills have regressed, the Chiefs have regressed, Ravens, all these teams. The Rams have kind of separated themselves. They're the Super Bowl favorites, MVP favorite in Matthew Stafford, and the public's reacting to that. 90% of the bets coming in here are on the Rams. Despite that, the line moved from 10.5 to 10. The scare here is that McVay doesn't take his foot off the gas this year. I mean, you saw in that Tampa game, up by 20 late, they're still throwing the ball around the field. He's still being aggressive. So that's the scare. But This is just too disrespectful of a number for a Panthers team that's been good all year. They were just in prime time to look really bad against the Niners. Public's reacting to that. So all the signs point to the Rams. Public loves the Rams. I'm going to go the other side because the line's moving. This is just finding value in the number. So 10 is too much at home, traveling cross country against this team.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And this was not one that I was going to play, but everything you say makes a lot of sense. And the Panthers deserve a lot of credit. You know who's kind of pushing some of the buttons for the Panthers? Our former classmate's brother. Are you aware of this?
No, I'm not aware of this.
Yeah,
Brant Tillis. Ryan
yeah,
Tillis' brother. I hadn't realized that he left Kansas City.
Yeah. It's first season. He's the VP of football operations for the Panthers. So Brant Tillis, DFW zone, I guess maybe Plano West. I think he went to one of the Plano schools.
Right.
And Dan Morgan, along with Dave Canales. And I really like I think that it's an incredibly flawed roster, and I don't know that I believe in Bryce Young by any means, but I really like the way they've competed, and I agree. I think that's
yeah.
You know, I gave out a big number for Seattle covering against Minnesota, but Minnesota is not nearly as good as Carolina. I'd have a tough time playing a big number and fading Carolina in this spot. So I like that play. It's not one that I've pulled the trigger on yet, but I do like that.
I get what the books are doing. They can put any number out here, and the public is coming in on the Rams. They put this huge number out. It could have been 13.5, and you're going to see the public on the Rams. So they put this huge number out. Panthers have some injuries in the secondary. J.C. Horn left the game last week. But it's just too much, too disrespectful for a team that's playing for the division. So let's take the dog here at home.
All right, I'm going to go with the dog here with my second pick. I'm going to go with the New York Giants. Jackson Dart, I think, is going to be back. He cleared concussion protocol. I like the way the Giants have played under Mike Kafka. But to me, this really comes down to the line. New England's line is even more beat up this week than it was last week. They're without, I think, the entire left side of their line, at least the guys they would like to have starting. And what's the Giants' one trick? It's their pass rush, right? They've got one of the better pass rushes, one of the best pass rushes in the NFL. And I just don't know how New England is able to block them. Now, I don't know, this line is at 7.5. At least the last I saw. I think maybe it's dropped in some books to 7. Either way, I like it. I think that, the Giants have been able to move the ball a little bit. The Giants have been able to score some points. It's maybe not the prettiest, but with Jackson Dart, especially if he's back, I like the Giants' ability to score enough. And I think that they can create, maybe a good field position opportunity with a sack fumble or a sack, a hit, like a tip ball interception or something, because their ability to get pressure. I mean, that's a big reason. The two reasons they were able to cover against the Lions last week. One is, the trick plays, the 2 trick plays that led to touchdowns. But then 2, they were able to either stop Lions drives or put the Lions in some compromised positions because their ability to sack Jared Goff. Now, Jared Goff is not the most mobile quarterback. He's certainly not as mobile as Drake May, but we've seen that, there are times when Drake May is pressured, like a lot of young quarterbacks. He is a little bit of a different type of performer. I like Drake May. I think he's a really good quarterback. It's not easy to perform under pressure, from a pass rush, but I just don't know where New England is going to gain an edge here offensively with this crippled offensive line. So I like the Giants getting 7.5 on Monday night against the New England Patriots.
I'm aligned with you on this one. This was probably going to be my third pick. And like you said, this is simple. It's defensive line for the Giants against a banged up offensive line. I think it's backup left tackle and a backup left guard for the Patriots. And if you look at the tape, they run the ball a ton to the left side. That's where their strength of their running game was. And now you have a Giants, their top strength is their defensive line. And the Sharps agree with you here. 90% of the bets coming in on this game are on the Patriots. But the money is like 50-50. Yeah, the money is 50-50, though. So you have all these bets coming in, but the bigger bettors, some of these sharp groups are coming in huge on this Giants team. I was actually hoping it was going to be Jameis because I wanted a week where I could find a spot to back Jameis and cheer for him. This was the spot. I was like, I was ready to go and get some Jameis love on Sunday, but I think that's part of the reason you've seen this line come down from 9 to 7 is its start now. So we're going to get a better number if it was Jameis, but public's still drinking the Patriots Kool-Aid. Despite what we saw against the Bengals last week with Flacco, no Chase last week, they barely squeaked out a win there. Still getting value, fading this Patriots team. So in agreement with you here.
All right, take me to your third pick.
Third pick, man, it was going to be the Giants, and I have to go back to the grind here. Do we take the Browns again? They've been so good to us at home, but I can't do Shador. I just can't do it. I don't want to do Shador yet just because he looked serviceable against the Raiders, my lowly Raiders. So I'm going to go back to Old Faithful, Tomlin at home, Steelers plus 3.5 against Buffalo. And I really don't like this Steelers team. I'm not sure what the Steelers team's good at. They're not fun to watch. They're clunky on offense. Their defense has issues. Mason Rudolph might not be able to throw the ball 20 yards. But no matter what we see from this Bills team, the public loves them. 83% of the bets coming in are on the Bills. This is me just looking at the number. 4.5 it opened. 80% of the bets coming in are on the Bills. Line has moved down. And this team is just asking Josh Allen to do too much with not that much. I don't know how they don't have a number one wide receiver by now. They're kind of doing Josh wrong by what they're giving him on this offense. And until I see something different, I'm going to back Tomlin as a dog at home, take the spot, take the value here. And I love that the public loves the Bills here, despite what we've seen in the last couple weeks. They let Davis Mills go up and down the field with them, and the Houston Texans run the ball on them. So I think the Steelers can put up some points here against one of the worst defenses in the league. 3.5 is too much on the road.
Yeah, you asked what the Steelers are good at, and other than Josh Allen being Superman, I don't know what the Bills are really good at. Every once in a while, and I like James Cook, but I don't know that you would look at the Bills other than Josh Allen and look at the roster and be like, yeah, this is a really good roster. I mean, defensively, I don't know that they're really good at anything. They don't get to the passer, right? They had a short window last year where with Von Miller, maybe they could get to the passer a little bit, but they really betting aside is much like I'm a Packers fan. And I think it's borderline malpractice that they only got to one Super Bowl in the Aaron Rodgers era. I think it is more egregious what the Bills have not done, what Brandon Beane has not done to put something around Josh Allen. I mean, the Bills' successes have been Josh Allen just being an MVP, and that's what he is.
Right.
He is so good. But I have a tough time. Like I don't love the Steelers here because we always talk about what's the edge, right? We just talked about the Giants and the Patriots. Where does a team have an edge to either help them cover as a big underdog or cover as a whatever it might be? Where's the edge? And I don't know that I see one with the Steelers other than I think the Bills are a highly flawed team. And I don't know, I couldn't play the Bills here, right? There's just under no circumstance would I feel good about playing the Bills. They might go and win by 14 because Josh Allen might do what he did against Tampa Bay and be Superman again because he's that good. But I don't know that I want to bet on that.
Right.
Yeah. And hey, the Tomlin 500 streak, this is a game they kind of need. They got to steal a game. The Steelers are going to have to win a game as an underdog for Tomlin to keep his streak of never finishing under 500. So maybe it's that magic. Maybe the Steelers forget just covering his dogs. Maybe they end up winning this game to keep that streak going.
Yeah. I mean, if you're telling me Josh Allen has to be Superman for them to cover 3.5, I'm going to take my odds and take the other side. And, like you said, since they lost Stephon Diggs for issues he was having with the team. That's fine if you want to get rid of him, but you got to find somebody else. They drafted Keon Coleman. He's been a mess. He can't even stay on the field. Shakir's last couple of weeks has had the drops. They've got some great tight ends there. They just don't have that one guy who can go help Josh Allen in key moments other than James Cook. They need another receiver. Surprised they didn't do something at the deadline to help him out. So Take the value
I
here.
thought,
I had one other pick that was like maybe just as good, so we might do a Black Friday special and give a
well,
fourth
yeah,
pick out today. So
yeah. There are a few interesting games that I'm not sure if I'm going to have a play on, and maybe we won't cover. Uh, so I guess for my third pick, and you and I talked about it. The remaining slate, right? So taking the 3 games yesterday out, there's really not a lot that we love. And one, hey, if you're just a newbie gambler, don't you lose money by just throwing money out if you don't really feel good about games. So you don't have to bet 6 games a week if you don't feel good about 6 games.
right.
So I'll tell you, I liked Cleveland at the bigger number that I think it opened at closer to 6.5 at home against San Fran. Cleveland at home is a totally different beast. Defensively, Brock Purdy has struggled against the Browns defensively and maybe 2 matchups. But you're right. Now that number's dropped to 4.5, I don't know that I love it. And a lot of it is, again, Shedeur Sanders, as bad as the 49ers defense is.
Yeah, I'm not
Do I go
exposing myself on
Washington at
Cleveland.
home? Yeah, yeah. So I'm deciding right now between Washington 5.5 point home dogs against Denver or the Jets, and I think I'm going to take the Jets 2.5 point home dogs against the Falcons.
That was
Yeah.
mine. Okay.
Okay. So I like the Jets here. Listen, the Jets have competed defensively, right? The way that they lost to the Ravens last week, but I thought they competed well. I know the Ravens didn't look so great last night against a bad Cincinnati defense. But the Jets have kind of they can move the ball a little bit with Tyrod Taylor. I like Tyrod Taylor in this spot. I don't actually hate Justin Fields in certain spots if he's going to use his legs, but I like Tyrod Taylor here. And I just don't want to a lot of this comes down to Kirk Cousins looked good last week. So I'm very happy to fade Kirk Cousins this week. And if you're telling me he's going to be a road favorite, I'm especially okay fading Kirk Cousins. Again, this isn't a lock. This isn't like my 1-1 or anything. There's a reason why this is my third pick. And really it's further down because you took a couple picks I would have put ahead of this. But if I have to make a third pick here, I'll take the Jets as 2.5 point dogs. I just like fading Kirk Cousins on the road, outdoors in this spot. And I think Tyrod Taylor is good enough to continue his abilities as a cover god from the backup spot.
Yeah, this was going to be my fourth one. I don't think the public watched that Atlanta New Orleans game. It was one of the crappiest games on the slate last week during a great Sunday of games. And if you watch that Atlanta, they see that Kirk won the game. The score doesn't really show what the game was. The Saints missed 2 field goals in that game. Had a couple turnovers. The score didn't really reflect how well Kirk played. And you're going to give Kirk Cousins as a favorite on the road. You have to take the other side here. Like you said, Tyrod's a cover machine. He's covered 6 straight games. 70% of the bets coming in on Atlanta because they just see what the score was against New Orleans. They say, oh, Kirk, maybe he's serviceable. But he was going against Tyler Shuck last week. Tyrod Taylor is a little bit upgrade from Tyler Shuck.
Yeah.
And this Jets they're a better team with Tyrod than Justin Fields. Fields gives them some big playability, but Tyrod's a little bit more steady. And the Saints can't run the ball, so Atlanta wasn't really exposed. Their run defense is one of their worst units on the field, and the Jets want to run the ball. They still have Breece Hall. They still got Tyrod. They're going to run the ball. So this game, my model has this as a pick 'em. Getting 2.5 at home is too much. So this was going to be my fourth pick. Love an opportunity to fade Kirk right now on the road.
Yeah, I think again I'm just not. And then there are too many things that you just identified that line up to where you just got to. It's not like sometimes you got to back a team that's not fun to watch or they're not very good, but in every game, we talk about this. Every game you can make a bet, and every game a team has to cover. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to win, and it doesn't necessarily mean they have to be any good. But a team will cover unless it's a line without a hook. Then maybe there's a push. But Yeah, I think this is just a spot. I got a question, and this actually we got a note here from Jeremy who wants to know about this game as well. One team that's not good, and you just mentioned them. Another team that is maybe a little bit better, and they've competed well despite not really playing for anything. Miami and New Orleans. I was thinking of pulling the trigger on Miami at laying 5.5, and this is a question from Jeremy. What's your read on Miami and New Orleans? Miami at home laying 5.5 against the Saints.
I'll tell you right now that New Orleans is the sharp side. New Orleans is going to be the sharp side. It's where the sharp bettors are going to be. Do I want to have money on Tyler Shuck and the Saints going into Miami? No. Historically, this is where Tua plays well. He plays well against bad teams. He carves them up. When he's in big spots, Tua plays not as well or really bad. So I know that New Orleans is going to be the sharp side. I can tell just by the betting percentages, public's coming out of Miami, lines moving New Orleans direction. So I don't really have a strong read. Both these teams are not teams that I really want to back in this spot because I know that New Orleans is the right side. And, there's a couple spots where I'm betting bad teams and I like the spot a little bit more than backing this New Orleans team. I like the Commanders spot against the Broncos more. And I don't think the Commanders are that much better than the Saints. I just like the spot. So I'm not sure what we're going to get from this Miami team week to week. And it's too big of a spread, to have to win by 6 or a touchdown to bet on Miami.
What's another game that is kind of being tossed around in your head? You're not sure, or maybe you're thinking of pulling the trigger. Just another interesting matchup that we didn't discuss.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of these gross spots where you just have to hold your nose and take the spot. And I'm going to be doing a lot of that on Sunday and just taking every single spot and then feeling like it's going to be profitable. I'm going to take the Jets. I like Tennessee. I like Tennessee plus 6. Do I like it as a big unit play? It'll probably be a 1 or 2 unit play for me, but maybe it's my disdain for Trevor Lawrence. But this team shouldn't be a big favorite against anybody, like I said, on the road. I mean, I'm not going to put that in my 3, but Trevor Lawrence, again, I can't believe we didn't cover with Arizona last week. I mean, I pushed that game. Trevor Lawrence, it's like he doesn't learn from his mistakes. It's just every time he throws an egregious interception, he just goes back. You see Cohen's face on the sideline, just like, what? I don't know how to teach this guy not to do these things. So I can't take the Jags team as a big favorite. Tennessee has covered a few weeks in a row, and that scares me a little bit that, when a team is covering ATS that many weeks in a row, that there's going to be some regression there. But so have the Jags. The Jags have, I think the scores of their games and the outcomes don't reflect how good this team actually is. So I'm going to take Tennessee. Don't feel great about it. But there's like I said, I'm going to take Tennessee. I'm going to take the Commanders at home. I haven't bet the Saints yet, but if I'm going to bet that game, I'm going to take the sharp side. We have a bad Giants team we're betting. We have a bad Jets team we're betting. So, you get late in these NFL seasons and you have these teams that, on paper, you just don't want to have to put money on. But the spot is the spot. You have to take everything else about what you think about how bad these teams are and look at the spot, look at how the line is moving, and just look for value. And there's value. Are all these teams? I mean, am I going to parlay all 5? No, I'm going to take, all these as straight bets. And, week to week, we're going to have a winning record if we can find value in the lines. And so there's going to be a lot of holding your nose and watching really bad quarterback play on teams you bet on. And so Tennessee would probably be my other one that I was looking at. I don't know if you had any other that you felt strongly about.
I didn't know. I mean, I mentioned the Washington getting 5.5 at home against Denver. I just don't. I mean, listen, Denver's a good team, and what they did against the Chiefs a couple weeks ago was impressive, and they kind of put their foot down in that division. But that's for a team that I still don't think has good quarterback play on the road. I know Washington is super beat up, but I don't know if I'm going to play that yet. I don't know if you have thoughts there. But the other one, I don't really have a great feeling on this, but it's a good game, and that's Indy at home against Houston. Houston's not they're kind of a yucky team to watch because offensively they're just, especially with CJ Stroud, there's not a lot of fun going on there. But defensively, I mean, they're outstanding. Arguably the best defense in the NFL, probably the best defense in the AFC, and then Indy's leading the division. They've been really good. They've tripped up here recently. They've lost 2 of their last 3, but they lost a tough game against the Chiefs. It's an overtime game for Indy. Some people will tell you that impacts things. Maybe that impacted the Chiefs yesterday against the Cowboys because they had to actually compete in overtime, unlike that Viking or that Giants-Lions matchup. Although the Lions, they lost as well. Maybe that impacted it. I don't know. But do you have any thoughts on Colts laying 3.5 at home against the Texans?
The Texans are going to be the sharp side here again, just with their defense and being more than a field goal. Getting the hook here is too much. Am I going to bet the Texans? Probably not. I keep waiting for regression from this Colts team, and you don't see it week to week. They just, even in that Chiefs game, they should have won that game. You could argue they should have won that game outright. And I would have liked it more if it was Davis Mills and we got, a 5.5 or a 6 here rather than a 3.5. I probably would have taken the Texans because I don't think there's that big of a difference between Stroud and they're much different quarterbacks, but the output you're getting from them, Davis Mills, late in the games, he was making good decisions with the ball. He's managing the game and letting his defense, perform. So Stroud, taking the sacks, dropping back 10 yards, and the strength of the Colts defense is that up front. So, if Stroud comes in, he's been a little cold off the bench, coming in off the bench. If he comes in cold and he's, making mistakes, it just plays in the Colts' hands. So this is probably a wait and see, maybe bet it live if I can get a really good number on Houston if the Colts go up 7-0. But right now it's a stay away until it gets closer to game time. Are you seeing 4.5 on that still? Is that the number you're seeing?
No, I saw on Colts Texans.
Yeah,
I've seen that. I've seen that drop down to 3.5.
Yeah. I'm seeing a bunch of different numbers.
There has been some movement. Yeah.
Yeah. The cool thing on the Washington game is if you somehow, I haven't seen any update today. There might have been an update in the last hour or two, but I have not seen an update on Jaden Daniels. And if you do want to bet Washington and you haven't got the update on Jaden, maybe you should bet it now at +5.5, +6, because if it is Jaden, you're going to see that come down to +4, +3.5. And I'm in agreement on the Washington game. I think the Broncos, any big number for this offense is too much because I just haven't seen an offensive explosion. So I don't see them just scoring 35 on Washington. So they're going to have to score, is it going to be 20-13 final that they cover these games? I'll take the value on the dog at home. Washington's been terrible of late, and 85% of the money coming in that game on Denver. Line open at 6.5. It's down to 5.5. So the sharps like it. The line movement is telling me take Washington. So we'll probably take Washington.
One prop I like, 2 pass attempts, 30.5. I like the under there. I think even if Miami, scores and has success offensively, I think it's working around Tua and running the ball against the Saints. So that's a random prop that I like. Shout out to Ben, who's been active in the comments and just wants a shout out. So there's your shout out, Ben. All right. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye here for week 13?
No final thoughts. It's an interesting next few weeks of the NFL with, there haven't been that many teams that have separated themselves from the pack, and other than the Rams, really. So it's a little bit of a different NFL where you think KC, Buffalo, Ravens, Seattle, I guess you can put in that category. Philly, you can put in that category, are going to, come out and take the next step. We saw yesterday, every dog won yesterday, and it went against every trend that you see usually on Thanksgiving, and all the favorites winning. So, again, taking it week by week, looking at value, like I said, you're going to have to play some stinkers this weekend, I think, to make money and fade the public. So that's what we'll be doing, and maybe we'll be regretting that. Hopefully not putting any money on the Las Vegas Raiders this week, if I can help myself.
Ben wants to let you know, Zach, that you're an OG pimp. So congrats on being an
OG
OG
pimp. Yeah.
OG pimp. So
amazing. Do you have any big college plays? What's your number one college play this weekend?
Let's see. I really like the under in the Arizona State game tonight at 48.5. That was a big play for me. I think I texted you the Egg Bowl. I didn't play a side. I played the total. I played the under there. That one was at 63.5, and right now they're in the middle of the third, and that total's at 34. So I like that. In terms of a side, I kind of like OU laying 10. And I know that it seems like Washington is kind of a sharp side, but I haven't played that at home against Oregon. But I got OU at 10. I think the number might be up to 11 or 11.5. So I think from a side standpoint, that was my biggest play. What about you?
Biggest play on the board. I like Tennessee at home against Vanderbilt. We're actually different on that. I know you sent me, like Vanderbilt. I like Tennessee. I got a 2.5. I think it's up to 3.5. I do like that Washington side. It's going to be a sharp side. Public is coming in huge on Oregon. You get a rivalry game at home. Washington getting value there. So that'll be a contrarian bet. I'll probably be big on Washington, but nothing really huge in college for me this week. Not as many plays. I usually have 9 or 10 plays in college. Most of my plays this week are going to be NFL. So mostly just enjoying this Texas game. I'm sure as we get closer to game time, I will put way too much money on the Horns just to have, just to hurt myself a little bit more, if we can't find it. I just have to believe that Arch finds just one of these big games going into next year. If we go 8-4, it's a failure. I mean, it's probably a failure at 9-3, but if we can't find one here, there's going to be a lot of noise in the Orange Bloods chat rooms. So I really hope for the kid that we can, for the kid that he can come up with one today, and we can have a little bit better performance. Hopefully we can catch the ball, when we have a 10-yard in route right in the receiver's hands. Arch gets a lot of grief, and has he been everything we hoped he would this year? No, but I don't think he deserves as much blame as he's getting. So for the kid, I hope we can come up with one and spoil A&M's perfect season. So, well, not perfect, but pretty perfect. So,
well, and Texas is different at home. Maybe they need 7th grade Zak Baron to play X receiver with that long white T-shirt hanging out from the jersey.
I had a 91-yard touchdown or something like this received from Jared, I believe. I think that was my last.
See you either. I was too small. I would just drop back and throw it up and hope that you were in the right spot.
I think that was my last positive play as a football player, was my 7th grade 91-yard touchdown, and then everybody got bigger than me. And luckily, Jay Andrews said it's time to quit football and focus on basketball. So then we did that. Private school basketball, baby.
Hey, you're an all conference basketball player, sharpshooter, LeBaron James.
I tell the story. I went back for the alumni game. This show is probably going way too long for people, but for those still listening, I went back for the alumni game, and I still play basketball. I still consider myself, all I can do is shoot. I can't go past anybody anymore. All I can do is stand there and shoot. If you want to go by me, I just, I'm not going to,
go ahead.
We're not going to be spraining ankles out there. I'm not going to be really going into the paint, hard in the paint anymore. But I went back for my alumni game. I think I went like 0 for 14 from 3 in the alumni game. I just went out. I was like, I'm getting mine. And I just clanged like 14 straight threes. It was really embarrassing. So enjoy it while you can. For all the high school listeners, enjoy the glory, man. So
All the high school degenerates out there who are tuning in. Yeah. Get those shots up and don't shave points.
Yeah. I don't have any SBC picks today, but maybe we'll give some SPC sharp picks next week. Probably fade Greenhill, but I don't know. I actually don't know that much about the team.
No, they're good. They're good. Defending SPC champions. You got to give them some love.
Oh, wow. No fading Greenhill. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. We've probably we've unpacked the suitcase here. All right. That's it. He's Zach. I'm Jared. Thanks so much for joining us on the betting booth. We'll be back next Thursday, normal schedule without the Thanksgiving week. So tune in then. Good luck. Happy betting. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys.